And hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Off the Rails Network. I am PJ Campbell. That's Sean Sullivan. And we've got the Blair Witch going on behind me. David Biscuits is in the house. Hey, David, what's going on? And we are here with a brand new episode of Something Rotten. And tonight we are going to be talking with you guys about the 2016 film, if I'm remembering the year correctly, Suicide Squad, directed by David Ayer, starring Will Smith, Margot Robbie, Jared Leto, and a whole bunch of other people. None of that really matters as far as I'm concerned in the movie, but this should be quite a bit of fun. And once you guys, watch this after we have our conversation, if you're not on our patron, if you're not a patron, whatever you want to call it, you should be. You know why? Because we decided to watch the movie for you guys. And we did an entire commentary track. Sean was drinking during it. I was doing Mystery Science Theater 3000 type stuff during it. It's a lot of fun. You should go listen to it. But I'm super excited. We're going to be talking all about this film because I don't know if you guys have heard. There's a little movie opening next weekend. This weekend, I think, because we pre-recorded this.
This is coming out on Monday, so this weekend.
Yes, so this weekend, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. The is very important. Unlike here on this network, the Off the Rails network, we're very loose with the. But this movie, it actually matters. It's called The Suicide Squad. But I am super excited for that movie. Sean and I will actually be seeing it together. Biscuits may be there. We don't know. It's going to be a ton of fun. But first off, we got to go back to the DCEU. I believe this is film number 3 overall in the overarching DCEU franchise. David Ayer tried to bring the Suicide Squad to life in a John Carpenter-esque man on a mission film. And the only mission for me was how drunk could I get by the time it was over?
Well, I don't think that was the final film. So I guess we talk about our initial impressions. I didn't hate this movie as much as most people did. I remember this movie fondly. I've seen it 4 times, 5 times. I've seen it more times than most. Most people have watched it. I've got bad movie taste. We know this. That's why we have a show for that. I've seen this movie more times than most, and I remember liking the film.
I mean, look, here's the thing. So when they dropped that first trailer at Comic-Con the summer before it opened, that trailer was like putting everyone on notice. We were all super excited. It looked really great. I was super excited to see it. And by the time we got to the movie and I was sitting in the theater, I could feel like something was off. And I mean, we won't get a ton into it. We do talk about it quite a bit during the commentary, but this was not really David Ayer's movie. Like, this was a movie that was taken away from him. The editing team that did it was like a trailer editing team by the time it was done. The movie's just kind of a mess. And so my initial reaction going into this was not super high. I wasn't super excited to watch it because I had remembered my own feelings on the movie. But I had watched it once last summer when we did the extended cut. And I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe it's not nearly as bad as I remember. And by that, I mean, I didn't feel like I needed to drink to get through it. But by the time we watched it this time, I was miserable. So we'll get into that once we do. But my initial reaction upon pre-rewatch was it's okay-ish, not great. I didn't remember disliking it or liking it that little comparative to when I had watched it before, I guess. That makes sense?
No.
Perfect. David, what did you think?
Well, I didn't watch it with you guys.
Yeah, just put it in general.
Yeah.
Your initial thoughts pre-rewatch.
My initial thoughts is all I can think about is the feeling I had leaving the theater after watching, which was yuck. Like, just everything. Like, all right, the only good things about it, obviously, what everyone says, I tend to agree with her. Will Smith is pretty good in his Deadshot. Margot Robbie, obviously, Harley Quinn, iconic at this point now, right?
Yep.
In the same vein as like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, Margot Robbie's clearly our Harley Quinn. So, and I mean, Cara Delevingne's dance was pretty cool, I guess. I don't know, man.
No. Okay. So, all right, let's just break into it. Cara Delevingne's dance is the worst part about this movie.
She's so a non-thing in the film. I don't know why you have that character. And
I think that I should do the whole discussion like this.
If you keep doing that, I'm leaving.
Just like the final battle,
I'm going
where
to
she's
leave.
just all right. Fine.
No, look. So as far as this movie is concerned, I mean, I kind of set it up top. The truth is that this is really not David Ayer's movie, right? This was not the movie that David Ayer set out to make. As far as we're all aware, this is very similar to the Justice League situation. It was kind of taken away. And the problem is, at the end of the day, we can't talk about it any other way than what we have seen. And what we have seen is still a film that is tragically a mess. This movie has several character introductions for the same characters over multiple openings for whatever reason. It has got random needle drops that come out of nowhere that don't work. They don't fit. They last for 15 seconds before they go away to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline stuff doesn't make sense. The villains don't make sense. Like, everything about this movie feels like one massive missed opportunity. And the one thing that David Ayer has owned, and this is the biggest problem with the movie, is that Enchantress never should have been the villain. It 100% should have been the Joker. And I think that the biggest thing for me, more than anything, is that the Joker just does not need to be in this movie.
No, he's an afterthought after everything you do. And then just the fact too of like you said, certain thing that happens in the movie that just happens in the movie, I guess, just to happen. Like, the big thing that I take away, because it cracks me the hell up, was when Kitana comes in and like the famous line, "This is Kitana. She has my back. I wouldn't piss her off. Her soul captures the it's the most worthless scene, and like the worst way to have exposition explained to you. It's the most literal exposition in all of exposition. It's so bad. It literally takes you out of the film. But this is Kitana. It's just
that's Kitana. Her sword steals the souls of its victims.
It literally sounds like he's reading it off of like a SNL.
Yeah, well, what? Okay, I don't know if it was
teleprompters.
I don't know if it was PJ or Dan that brought up in our commentary, but they're like, at least he tries to sell it. Like, he does it in this kind of way where he's like, yeah, in case you're wondering, that's Catan. Like, he puts a little pizzazz on it. Though you can't help a bad script, right?
Yep.
The script is bad for this film.
Oh, it's terrible.
And you know, there's a film here where the Joker's the villain. Now, PJ's ready for this. He's all buttoned up. I like the Joker in this film. I hate the design, but I like his acting choices. I like Jared Leto's general oeuvre as the Joker. And I'm very disappointed we don't get to see more of it. I'm very disappointed we don't get to see any Joker with Batfleck, aside from Batman on top of his Lamborghini. Like, I really wish we can get a little more Joker of Jared Leto's Joker. I think that the actors in the film, whoever plays Diablo, I don't know his name. Whoever plays Croc, I don't know his name. Don't ask me. But Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and Jared Leto. And Amanda Waller is her name I do know, but I can't think of it. Viola Davis. Like, they really sell this film when you're watching it. Any scene where you get those characters interacting, it's an all right film. There's another issue. Well, let's talk about the needle drops, because.
Well, can I touch on something you just brought up?
Yeah,
quick?
Absolutely.
Because this was something I actually said. Again, I really implore, if you're not a patron, even at the $2 and up level, like, you will get the commentary at the lowest level and up. But the thing that I noticed right away on this watch more than anything is that you could get rid of the Will Smith and Margot Robbie scenes at the beginning of the film with Ike Wahlberg. And that whole thing.
Ike Barinholtz. For those watching at home and doesn't understand what PJ's saying, Ike Barinholtz. PJ's convinced that he is one of the Wahlberg brothers.
He's a long lost Wahlberg.
He's not.
He is. Look at him. He was a long lost Wahlberg. That's not the point. The point is that the movie opens with, it should open with the sympathy for the devil scene with Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. That scene when it's talking about, you know, the world changed when Superman flew across the sky, and then the world changed again when he didn't. That scene is what should open the film. Everything before that is unnecessary exposition, because we are then just reintroduced to Harley and Will once again in the next scene. Like, it is so utterly bizarre from a any logical standpoint that we even have 2 introductions for those characters. And at least then it sets the precedent.
You could literally introduce them with the scene. Like you can introduce Deadshot with the scene of Rick Flag and Ike Barinholtz going to the cell, pulling Will Smith out of the cell and putting guns in front of him. Like that could be your introduction. Boom, you know he's Deadshot, and then you flash back to the other stuff later. Like there's a version of this movie where in the middle of are they in God? Where are they?
So the bulk of the movie takes place in Central City.
Central City. Okay, so while they're in Central,
by the way,
Exactly.
yeah, where's the Flash? Come on.
Which is something I never asked, by the way. But if you're in Central City, where's Flash
Flash?
in all of this?
Right. Well, and
yet?
No, because you see him.
No, he was because he's in the movie.
Because he has the cameo in the movie when they put Boomerang in prison.
See, I don't even remember that.
Yeah. So all right. So there's a version of this movie, and PJ, you brought this up, where they're flashing back during the events in Central City, and they're doing it kind of like this, like denouement in the middle of the action, and like that's how you could set up Will Smith's connection with his daughter in the actual meat of the film, not in the beginning, because you had some issues with that.
It takes an hour almost to get into Central City.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you also had some issues with the way the daughter's presented in the film.
Yes, that's just true.
I disagree with them, but yeah, I think that if you put that scene with Batman and the daughter and Deadshot, if you put that as a denouement in the middle of the fight through Central City, like that maybe works really well and maybe sets it up better instead of it being kind of this like prelude to the actual film. Because there's like 3 different films here. There's a film with Harley and Joker. There's a film with like Deadshot's redemption arc with his kid, which can be rolled into the Suicide Squad stuff. Then you've got like the whole Amanda Waller, Argus, Joel Kinnaman, like weird mashup stuff. I don't know. I said at the beginning that I like this film a lot. I'm wrong about this film. But I think that I like a lot of the elements of this film. The song choices are fantastic. Yep. Their usage is fucking terrible.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't waste Seven Nation Army like that. You don't.
I will say, though, now that we're all just pooping on the film, another good thing about it, a surprise, in my opinion, Jai Courtney.
He is. Boomerang is
so it's funny because like Jai Courtney, I don't think Jai Courtney or Joel Kinnaman for that matter, I don't think either of them really can hold a film, but I feel like they were in the right spots for this film.
I don't disagree. So here's the thing: is the movie is pretty well cast across the board. That's one of the things we need to take into consideration. You brought up the Margot Robbie of it. I think Will Smith is great as Deadshot. I mean, he's Will Smith as Deadshot, so he's Will Smith. But the thing is we all like Will Smith. It's like Tom Cruise. You put Tom Cruise in a movie, you're getting Tom Cruise in the movie, but we like Tom Cruise, so you don't really say anything about it. That's kind of how I feel with the Will Smith of this. I similarly actually like a lot of Leto's Joker. I think his cadence is really great. I think that there's parts of his performance that are really quite good, but the problem is once again, I think it's just lost in a movie that doesn't make sense for him to even be in.
That and the visuals
change.
And his visuals don't help. I mean, no. I think there's something to be said about this sort of like quote realistic Joker. Like, look, if the Joker's actually a crime kingpin, like he's a gangster, he's the crown prince of crime. Like
the crown prince of crime, not the crown.
What did I say? Crown.
Yeah.
The clown prince of crime. Like he's well, Chris Clark, can you edit that out? Okay, yeah, I can. All right, thanks, Chris. I don't know if that's what.
He probably would have said something like.
Once he puts down the sub first.
Yeah. Or he'll probably say something obscure like I don't know how spaghetti and spaghetti looks like an orifice. I don't know. Let's move on.
Moving on. So I think that there's something to be said about like having that sort of semi-grounded gangbanger Joker I sound so white saying that, but like with the tattoos and with the like, I don't like the grills, but like I could see where there is some value in that.
Well, it's kind of, you're not wrong, because here's the thing, right? Gotham as a thing is overrun with mobsters. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of ways, the idea of organized crime being so like mobster gangster heavy in Gotham makes sense, that you think someone like Oswald Cobblepot or the Joker.
But here's the thing, right? If we're going through the material of what DC is, and yeah, Gotham is mobster heavy, every villain in the Rogues Gallery is a different kind of mobster. Like Oswald, you can argue is the most straight-laced, like criminal organizer.
No, totally.
And then and then you have the duality with Two-Face, and Joker's supposed to be like, in the comic books, it's always like a parody of what the other guys think they are.
Absolutely.
Whereas like in this movie, for me personally, like it felt like Joker wanted to belong with them, but in the comic books and all throughout time, Joker always thought of himself as smarter than them.
No,
so
right.
Parodying them.
Ooh. PJ, I know you have a point, but I want to just build off something David said there. I think that the Joker is meant to parody the villains in the Suicide Squad.
Yes, I think
not parody the because we see some of Gotham's criminals, chiefly the one played by Common who gets offed. But like, what about Common as Captain Cold? That would have been so good.
Literally anything with Common in the
but
DCU.
Random Gangster number 3.
Yeah, like I'm still mad about that.
I know. But like I feel like the Joker isn't meant to parody in this film at least. The Joker isn't meant to parody those criminals. He's meant to parody someone like Deadshot or someone like Killer Croc, who's got the kind of crushed velvet jacket and the
just within the confine of the movie.
Just within the
that's the thing.
Just
within the confine of the movie.
We can't even judge the movie based on the confines of the movie, because the movie alludes to the other movies outside of it. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
To Gotham, it alludes to Batman. It has freaking Batman in it, so you kind of also have to assume like there's a Gotham of like not exactly like the Gotham in the comic books, but something similar. Which is what like I kind of had a problem with Joker in that sense. Not so much the mannerisms, even though that sometimes came off like Jim Carrey doing Riddler a little bit for me personally. But it didn't feel like a Joker who thought he was smarter than everybody else. It felt like a Joker trying to like fit in with everybody else, if that makes sense. In terms of the criminal underground that the movie kind of shows you.
Where was Batman during all the Sky Beam shit?
Well, I also think that this is a pretty successful. So it's kind of funny. This is a pretty successful Joker. Like he's built a crime organization pretty well in this.
But that's the thing, and I sound so gatekeepy, but it's just what.
No,
it is.
Joker
is in the comic books. He is filthy rich. Like
right.
The parody. It's like with Dark Knight when he burns the money. Like for him, money isn't the ultimate point. It's the point is to kind of like put a mirror up to society and show them how much of a parody they are to themselves. You know what I mean? His whole he's like the antithesis to Batman and all that stuff. And I never got that sense from this Joker in this movie. It just felt like he was like just some weirdo criminal. It didn't feel like a Joker who thought he was like 3 steps ahead of everybody.
And I think that's kind of the root of the problem is we don't really get something to bounce the Joker off of.
It's almost like the Joker needed to be the main villain in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe if they would have done that, maybe the rest of the world, myself included, would have taken it a little bit easier on Jared Leto's Joker. But it's the fact that they gave us what they gave us. And like I think David Ayer said it's like that's not even the bulk of like Jared Leto's performance. So like it feels like they literally gave us the worst cheesy parts of Jared Leto's Joker and made him a literal joke. Yeah. Which kind of sucks because I was really excited to see what he was gonna do with the character.
I mean, I love Jared Leto as a performer, as a performer in all things, like
30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars. I mean, he's in one of my all-time favorite films, Lord of War.
Yes, we know, Lord of War.
The best part.
That being said, he does eventually get his redemption arc, the actual actor in Justice League.
Yeah,
and I'm like, if that's really what the Joker was supposed to be, then we really missed out. Unfortunately, WB really screwed the pooch on this one. But I'll shut up.
No, you're good. Pete, you were talking about the overall criminal organizations in this
Well,
film.
I mean, I don't even remember at this point what my point really was. I think it was mostly that it felt like it worked within the confines of the movie, but again, the problem really is we never spent time with it. Like, I believed that this Joker was doing the stuff that this Joker had been doing, but I never get a sense of there was really a relationship with him and Batman. I never get a sense that there was really this relationship with him and Harley. Like, they spend more time on the Harley stuff, obviously, than anything else, but so much of it is just like very fast exposition or flashbacks that last not very long. Specifically, the extended cut actually has an entire added sequence with their characters that is one of the better sequences put back into the film. But like, for the most part, this movie falters because at a very basic level, there's no character work. Like, there's nothing that's done with any of the characters that has anything to say about those characters by the time it's over, which is super goddamn frustrating. Like, nothing in this movie feels earned or real, or characters have grown by the time like, maybe a little bit. The only one really is Diablo. Like, Diablo's the only one who feels like that he has an arc at all. But for the most part, like, Deadshot doesn't really change. Deadshot is still Deadshot by the time it's over. He just gets to see his daughter at the end.
And you know what's funny? I don't think Deadshot really has an arc in this, but I believe Deadshot's motivations really well. Like, there's something really interesting with the way Deadshot plays off of the Suicide Squad and the Argus. I mean, they call them Navy SEALs in the film, so I guess the Navy SEALs. But he's like kind of the bridge between the two groups in an interesting way, because he's getting the most out of this. Like, he has a reason to do this for his daughter and for, being able to see his daughter and for his daughter to succeed and all that. He doesn't.
If I want to see Will Smith think that his daughter's going to succeed, I'm going to go watch King Richard, which we saw the trailer for tonight.
I'm so excited for that film. That film looks so motivational.
Yeah.
So there's two quick things I think we need to touch on before we give our verdict. The twist in the film.
Oh, you mean where we learned that the whole thing is Escape from New York style, where they should have just been upfront about it? Yeah. And again, it also takes way too long in the movie for any of this to even like come to a head. Again, it's just a basic problem with the script and or the edit. I hate so much the stuff that they do where it's basically supposed to be Escape from New York, and we find out that this whole mission was just to save Amanda Waller. Like, I very much wish in a way that they had been upfront. Like, at least then it seems interesting because she's the one who forced them together. That they're then forced to go and save her. If you know what I'm saying, like, I think that's a very different dynamic than them going in and knowing nothing about it and then being presented with it once they're there. Like, I think there's a different dynamic to be had in that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And then the last thing I'd say is the extended cut. I don't think the extended cut adds much. Like, it's got one or two decent scenes, but for the most part, it just makes this movie longer.
Yep.
And it doesn't need to be,
I mean, again, I think that the Leto and Robbie sequence is maybe the best addition. I think that outside of that, Sean is right. I think it just mostly makes the movie longer. One thing I wanted to touch on real fast, too, is, like, it's very obvious that the Blob villain things were clearly parademons that were fixed in post-production to not be parademons anymore. It's very, very strange to watch. Most of the action is not great either. Like, especially the last sequence, that third act is really, really awful to watch.
Well, and it's a slog from the time that they go through the pub scene, which the pub scene is the most character development we get in the whole film. From the time of that pub scene to the actual final fight, it's a whole lot of nothing. And the final fight is a whole lot of nothing again.
Yeah.
Like,
the big problem is, again, I mean, the truth is that the squad never should have been up against that type of character out the gate. It should have been something much smaller scale, like the Joker and his men in Gotham doing stuff. And I think that it really just hinders this film. And I think the other thing that would have changed the entire outcome of this movie. And I kind of brought it up again. I get much deeper into it. If you want to go listen to the commentary, please do. But I think that the biggest thing is that this movie should have been that the squad had already been formed before Deadshot is brought in. I think that as a unit, it should have already existed under Waller. I think that when he is brought in, then we're slowly introduced to who they are throughout the movie in different capacities, because I think that it would have streamlined the movie better. And if Deadshot is the main character, at least then there is a central focus. This movie doesn't have a central focus at any point. That's the big problem. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that an ensemble film always needs to have a central focus, but if you look at a movie like Ocean's 11, Danny Ocean is the focus with everyone around him. Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter Quill is your central focus with everyone around him. This movie does not have that. It is trying to have its cake and eat it too.
Even the Avengers has either Tony or Cap, depending on the film, as the central focus.
Right.
And I mean, Batman versus Superman. Batman's more of a focus character than Superman for most of that film.
Yeah.
You know, but there's, at least when they do switch focus, there's a clear delineation. This film does a weird thing where, like, Harley's the focus, and then Deadshot's the focus, and then Flag is the focus, and none of their stories really have a satisfying arc. None of their stories have a satisfying conclusion. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's time.
It's time, Dipper. What do you think?
It's time for us to give our verdict. This graphic is a work in progress. This is the pilot episode of this show, so don't worry, we've got a better graphic coming. David B, let's start with you.
What?
Oh, so I should explain, I guess.
Yeah, you didn't even do that, Sean.
Well, you and I okay. The problem is PJ and I know the premise of the show.
And we did not explain it to David.
No, we didn't explain it to David. So the show's called Something Rotten. This film is rotten on Rotten Tomatoes. In fact, I probably should have that score.
I believe it is a 27%. It may be even lower. Dipper, could you tell us what the Rotten Tomatoes score is?
Please.
Thank
Chris,
you, Dipper.
Please hold. Yeah, throw up technical difficulties.
Here, there's a corgi. Look at the corgi.
Put up that CRTV thing that would happen.
Oh no, buddy. Yeah, 26.
26.
Ooh,
I was
26 on the tomato meter and 59 on audience. So at least the audience was a little more receptive to it, but not by much. So David, do you think this score deserves a rotten score? And do you think it deserves a 26% on the tomato meter?
What would I percent it? Gosh. I mean, like, it's not a great film, obviously. It's not particularly well edited, I will say. We don't. It might have been well made, but we'll never know that, obviously. There's a lot of good things in it. For the most part, the cast is really good in their roles. The music's good, but that's used poorly as well. Yeah, it deserves rotten. I don't know if it deserves a 26%, though. I would probably give it like a 34%, me personally. I don't think it's like the worst film I've ever seen, or like even the worst DC film I've ever seen. But there's more bad than good. So like 34% for me.
All right. PJ, I'll let you close this one out, so I'll take this first. Yeah, I think 26% is way too low for this film. I wanted to give this film a fresh review, but I cannot. It is rotten. On my rewatch, I decided absolutely rotten. This film has so many problems. This film is so bloated.
One of us.
However, I'm going to go with the audience score and say 59% is what it deserves.
This dude just wants to straddle the line. You see that?
Just straddle. It's absolutely okay. Fine. 55. I'll give it 55. 55%. I think that I don't think you'd have to change much for this film to be okay. And I definitely like this film, maybe, 6 out of 10, right? So 55, 59%, somewhere in there, but it deserves the rotten score. So we got to go sub 60. I think there's a lot of redeeming things out of it. I'm really, really excited to see what they can do with this, with some of these characters in the next film. but an overall new concept, fresh look, and clearly the new film looks a bit more lighthearted and trying to be less broody.
It's also a studio getting out of their own way. Like,
yeah,
clearly this came out after Dawn of Justice, right?
Yeah.
So
this was the direct follow-up.
So this is like that weird period where like Warner Bros. Was getting like cold feet. Like there was already rumblings that Dawn of Justice was not going to be good. So, I mean,
well, and they weren't sure if they wanted a dark film or a
lighthearted film. They should just let the director make the film they told him to make. Like it. And that's what I think, like, the Suicide Squad, from what we've been seeing early on, they let the director do what he wanted to do, and people are loving it so far. So, as long as he gets out of their own way.
Dipper would like you to know that he thinks the film is fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but the reason he thinks it's fresh is because he can sleep through it.
Oh, good for Dipper.
So that's what.
But PJ, what's your review?
Look. Truth of the matter is, I think that the movie, in and of itself, of what we were presented, is a goddamn mess. It just is. Like David said, there's no way we're really going to know what the film actually looked like because we're likely not going to see the David Ayer cut of the film. I'm not saying that I don't think it can happen. I'm just saying it doesn't seem likely post Zack Snyder's Justice League. And now with the new Suicide Squad out, I just think that there's really no intent of that being a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That all being said, I think that the casting across the board is quite good. I think that outside of that, not a lot of the movie really works for me in any sort of way. I think that the 26% is pretty apt. I'd actually probably give it 28%. Like I'd go maybe just above, leaving it not a lot of wiggle room. This movie had a lot to do to improve in a lot of ways. Again, we'll never know what was actually set out to be made, most likely. But unfortunately, a movie that I dearly, dearly wanted to love ended up being one of the most disappointing for me as a fan that I can think of.
That's fair. All right. Well, so verdict?
No, that's rotten.
Yeah. I mean, that verdict is... This film would stay rotten. Do you have what that would be if the three of us and our scores? What would the average of that be on Rotten?
God, you want me to do math?
I do want you to do math. That
right.
We need to see what our percentage.
Oh, I guess we need to. Okay, so guys, sorry, this is still the pilot for this. So I said I'm going to go with 59. PJ,
no, you said 55.
David B, what'd you give it?
34, and you gave it 28.
34. Yeah, 28. Okay. Our average.
All right.
40.
Yeah.
All right. 40, so 40%. It would end up a little bit higher than it would have been on Rotten Tomatoes, but it still stays firmly in the realm of rotten. I want to know what you guys think. So hit us up in the comments below. I want to know if you think the film is rotten, and if you don't, why? I want to have this conversation. I am not looking to pick a fight with anyone. If you like the movie, I am glad you like it. This is not me picking on you. This is not us picking on you. We're glad you like the movie. It just didn't work for me. It didn't work for him. It kind of works for that guy. But for the most part, we're not here to fight with you guys. Like, this is not normally a thing of focus. Like, from me in particular, I'm not a very negative person. So this is weird to be our out the gate pilot of this for me being like, this movie is not great.
And I want to thank everyone for tuning into our inaugural episode, our pilot episode of Something Rotten. Ironically, the goal of this show is to find good in these bad movies.
Yeah.
Kind of hard with this one.
I mean, we said the cast was good.
Sure.
Yeah.
The music was
existent.
Yeah.
But all right. So to you, the fans, give us your let us know in the comments what you want us to tackle on this series in the future. If you've got a film that is rotten on Rotten Tomatoes that you love, or that you hate, or that you think should be loved, let us know in the comments. David B, we'll get yours off the air because we'll definitely do it. Come back.
I know what I have thoughts.
I have one already.
We have lots of thoughts, PJ. We got a whole list.
And I'm checking it twice.
We've got a ton. And look, if you're one of our $50 and up patrons, number one, you are incredibly generous to us, and you don't have to donate that much money, but we're happy to do.
Thank you.
If you're one of our $50 and up patrons, you get to tell us a film to do if you want. Our high tier patrons here on the channel get to dictate the films we watch in a given month. We do some of our own, and then we do some of their choices. We're a little behind on those, but I just got our 3 high tier patrons: Brandy Parker, Rick Franco, Ricardo Franco, and Brandon Buckingham. I got their 3 picks for. Well, I didn't get Bucks yet.
You got to
PJ message Buck for me.
I'll message you. Buck, we love you.
So thank you to the 3 of you guys, and then I'm going to go quickly go
Don't
through.
forget about our gold tier producer, Mr. Michael K.
Well, Michael K. and Sean Wingblade.
Oh, that's right, Sean Wingblade.
Both of them.
There's 2
and
of them.
then, of course, our Ruby tier patrons. We're going to change the name of these tiers soon. Chris Hall, Chris Portnoy, Tyler Birch, Patricia Carrillo, Jeff Alterman, Anton Putra, Beth Harris, Molly Damon, Amber Coates, Amber, you're on the channel. Kale, the Youth Critic, Stephen Wright, and Ferris Muthana. Thank you guys as always, and thank you to everyone who's a patron on our lower tiers as well.
We love all of you.
We love all of you, and we have more of these episodes come. There's going to be a slight delay in some channel stuff as PJ goes on some trips, but Maxwell and I are going to try to.
I don't want it to sound like I'm going on like vacation. I'm not.
No, he's got work trips.
But let's be very clear.
We hope you like the shorter form. I think we went a little over time we were aiming for today, but
it's 6 minutes over. It's fine.
There's some bloat. Here. So if if you have some suggestions, if you have something you want us to do, hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up in those comment sections. Show your friends this video, and tune in Friday or Saturday of this week. PJ and myself, and possibly Daniel, possibly Biscuits, will be doing our review of The Suicide Squad by James Gunn this weekend. So keep an eye out for that.
Biscuits, where can everyone find you online?
Oh, you can find me at DavidBmusic21, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and go listen to my music, David B Music, anywhere you stream music. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
That guy.
You can find me at Sean Sully on Twitch, and Suit Up Sully on Twitter. Follow my Twitch. That's where you'll find the most of me. And there's a slight delay in that too because I'm moving. David B's moving. Look, it's chaos. It's pure chaos. PJ, back to you.
You guys can find me Twitter, Instagram, PJ_Campbell. You can find me at the Movie Trivia Showdown. Hey, I write the questions over there. Be nice to the writers. We're only human. And I guess you can find me on the desk sometimes now too. Who knew I had that sort of talent? But once again, thank you guys so much for your continued support. We love all of you. Hey, who made the music for this?
David B made this wrong.
So with that, we'll catch you on the next episode of Something Rotten. Until next time, guys. Adios.